This week on Shondaland Weekly, we are talking about Shonda's introduction to the TV Hall of Fame, and Meredith Gray's character may not have a love interest. We're talking about that and much more. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey.
If I was you, I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too.
Hey guys. Thank you guys for joining us tonight on Shondaland Weekly. I love that song too. I'm Elle Marie. You guys can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at ElleMarieTV.
And I am Tori Broussard. I love this song.
It's such a
I could
hit.
dance to it all night.
It's a bop. It's a good bop song. Hey,
You
y'all.
can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Tori_Broussard. Key.
I'm sorry. I'm in video mode. We making music. Let's go. What's up, everybody? My name is Keith Andre. You can follow me everywhere at Keith_Andre.
What's up, you guys? I'm Lynneisha, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Lynneisha, spelled Lanisha 914.
Yeah.
Okay.
914. I like that.
Okay, who
All right,
doesn't want to
guys.
be Shonda Rhimes this week?
I know, right?
Like,
Wait, did you say
I
did
said
or
who
doesn't?
doesn't.
I was looking at you like,
oh.
Oh yeah, I'll take an L for that one.
She gave us a good week.
Sorry.
But, okay.
She was having a good week. But before we talk about that, like, I want you guys to try this new wine that I got.
okay.
Yes.
All right? It's a Stella Rose.
Pretty.
It's another red wine. It's not as sweet as last week's wine. It's a full body red wine. But, so it's a little on the dry side, but it's still sweet. It's got
Yeah.
raspberries, strawberries, and plums.
I like
So
Stella.
here's
Rose.
Anything
to-
Stella Rose. I
Cheers.
like
It's to episode 2.
Cheers.
I love a
It's good.
Stella
This
Rose.
is still nice and sweet.
Yeah.
It is.
It
Yeah,
is.
It's nice.
I can taste more berries, I think, than I
Oh,
did
than
last
you did
time.
Yeah.
last time.
I feel like you could smell
The
it.
aroma
That's
is there.
interesting, because I don't know what I taste more of.
This is very, very
Keep
full.
tasting.
Keep trying it.
In that case.
Okay.
Well, let's get into Miss Shonda Rhimes making history as well, getting inducted in the TV, Television Academy Hall of Fame. She's only the third Black woman to be inducted.
That tells you a lot.
That says a
That
lot.
says a lot. Like, people say, like, why do they always make it such a big deal?
Right.
Hello, we're
Yeah.
in
'Cause
she's only number
2017, about to be in
three.
Yeah.
2018.
This was founded in the Academy was founded in 1984.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
since 1984, only 3, and
Yes.
Oprah's one of them.
Yeah.
Is one of the 3.
Yeah, you got Oprah, you've got Diane Carroll, and now you'll
Yeah.
have Shonda Rhimes. So I think it's crazy to think about. I think it is important that we kind of keep track of these numbers
Yes.
because,
Yes.
of course, it's groundbreaking, it's Black history. But when you think of like entertainment-wise, you still see how we have so much further to go. We only have
Right.
one. If we look at the Oscars, there's only one Black woman to win for Best Actress, and that's
Right.
Halle
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
And in this case, looking at Shonda, you look at the impact of kind of the women or the Black people who have gotten the award. We see with Diane Carroll and Oprah, they both are, actresses are so visible. But for Shonda to be on
That
the
is a good
production
point.
side
Right.
and writing, I
Yes.
think that's huge.
It is huge.
Definitely.
It is
She
huge.
definitely shows you that even though it takes a lot of work to do, it's not impossible to do.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
And I think it gives a lot of people more hope, like, okay, it's not going to always just be given. It is possible to achieve with the work put into it, because Shonda put in a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And it's early on. Like, I mean, I know she's
That's
done a
true,
lot,
right?
Yeah.
but I mean, this is the peak of her career. And so for her to receive this now and on a Thursday.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
On
Okay.
Thursday, they knew
Thursday.
exactly what they were
Yeah.
doing. It's
November 15th.
15th. Yeah. So that's really cool. But honestly, like, when I read that she was the only third Black woman, that
Yeah.
rubs me a little bit the wrong way.
Yeah.
bet.
Same here.
You know, it's like there are so many other people who I feel like could have been inducted, and it's like, why? You know, like, how long and what exactly do you have to do to be inducted? You know what I mean?
That's a
Like,
great point. I
That's
mean,
very valid.
and I think that's something interesting to look at. I want to kind of look more into it because I didn't really get to kind of go in and see like all the people who have been inducted or their impact, if you're looking at Black women or Black men or just in general. I know with her it's going to be her. Joan Rivers is being inducted.
Yeah, Rivers is one.
A couple of other names I wasn't really familiar with because we don't often see like I was saying on the production side or the writing, they're not super visible. But with Shonda, it's so early in her career, she's so visible. So it's only up from here. You know what I mean? It's so much that she can do, especially having this attached to her legacy.
Exactly. I'm excited to see what she's going to do after this because this is huge.
It is.
She got so many credits.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, like, what do you just get one award, and do you have every title on there? Because it's for actors and comedians, producers, writers, directors, and she's just about like all of those. Just maybe take out the actor and maybe the comedians, but you know, producer, writer, director, like give her credit for everything.
And that's super interesting too, because I know I was reading about just a little bit the breakdown on how if you remember the voting process. I can't remember it all, but I know like if you are an actor, you can vote in so many categories and that type of thing. So it's interesting. But my last point is I'm just really fascinated by the fact that it's so early in her career. If we compare it to, we see now with the like songwriters, Mariah Carey is nominated, who has had, you know, this long career and 18 #1 hits, and just now being inducted into like a Hall of Fame situation.
Yes, most definitely.
So to have Shonda really have this moment and this movement behind her, she never lets up.
And even though we're like, yes, like give her credit and everything, I wonder if her mind, it's like, oh, now there's a lot on me.
Right?
Everybody's
the
looking.
pressure that comes
pressure
with
is
it.
on. Yeah.
That's true, because all we really have of her, not all we have, because we have a lot of her, but you know, we've got the Year of Yes, so we've got her writing, we've got her being activist and political, but as far as her career, we have these shows, we've got the TGIT lineup, and so there is a lot of room, there's a huge margin for error, but I think the biggest benefit is that it's early on in her career. She has plenty of time to bounce back from anything, so
that might go wrong.
Salute to Shonda.
And I was trying to look up to see if I saw when Oprah was inducted, just to kind of see the
gauge,
time lapse in that, but can't find that right now. So
homework.
We'll get that later. We'll have that information later. But yeah, so Shonda is, because I'm interested also to know like how many women are in there, and you know, every time we talk about Shonda, I feel like we always just talk about women in general, and she has so many powerful female characters in all of her shows, and so now with Meredith Grey on Grey's Anatomy, maybe 2 seasons ago now, or maybe 2 seasons ago, they killed off Derek, which was her husband. Right. And so now it's like she's trying to bounce back and things like that. And then they had this love interest on there, and that didn't really work out. And so then we saw this article that was kind of saying, well, maybe there won't be a love interest for her. You know, she's a single mother now. They had 3 kids, so maybe she should just focus on her. You know, right now her career is taking off. So it's like, why do we have to look for her to have a love interest when she's like holding it down herself?
Yeah,
true.
I definitely want to pose a question in a bit, but first I think, because like we talked about, Grey's Anatomy, I don't really follow much longer, but you know, I know the arc of the story. I know the character of Meredith. And I know Shonda has said that I believe that Meredith is most like her. And so I think moving into this next season, we'll really see just how much more like her, because she's got 3 children. She's a single mom. She's not interested in marriage, like all these things.
And it's work.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know, I guess because I don't follow the story so closely, but that type of character development and kind of where it goes for Meredith to still stay intact with the Meredith that you guys know or we know, or you know what I mean, how that story is going to play out. So I wonder if, you know, she did that consciously of making the character much more like her for a reason. I feel like we do see women on television, and we've got badass women with TGIT, so she's just taking it a step further and showing, you know what, hey, I don't need a McDreamy, I don't need a Big Steamy to run my shit.
I've never heard that before in my life.
But for me, I don't know. I mean, I feel like as a man, there's only so much, you know, of my knowledge. There's only so much empathy I can show towards it. But for me, I still like the idea, maybe because I'm hopeless romantic or traditional, but I like the idea of seeing a woman or seeing people want to be in relationships.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say. Like, that's great, you know, that she's this powerful, independent woman, but like there's backlash that comes with that, I feel like, as far as relationships go. You know, like one question that popped into my head is like, okay, I get it, you're independent, do your thing, but like why don't you have a man? Like, is it because you're too powerful and you can't get a man? Like, but I mean, honestly, like that.
I know. I'll be like, well, why don't I have a man?
Right. And so it's like there's a difference between like, you know, not wanting to be in a relationship,
right,
but also not being able to be in a relationship because you don't know how to balance, you know, your career life, your personal life, you know, that work-life balance.
Yeah.
Is that what's going on, or
Kind of a little bit.
Wouldn't you want like a person to like get themselves together first before they
That's what I
even
was
start
gonna say.
pursuing that?
True, but how long has Meredith,
I was about to say.
Olivia, with the exception of Annalise, how long have they?
Stop hating on my Annalise, okay?
How long have they had it together?
That's so true. And I think on one hand, we do see these characters that are like fully dimensional, but there is this side of, I guess, kind of reality that is kind of gets lost in translation because we don't have this cookie cutter image. We don't have this happy-go-lucky, whether it's them or whether we throw it back to the Cosby Show or, you know what I mean, where you had these families that were quote unquote intact. And it's nice to see that as well as knowing that people have their issues. But there should be a space for that type of person, I think, as well.
I think for this case, for the show, with Meredith, she's still kind of getting over the fact that she lost her husband. Like some time has passed, but like maybe not enough so where she doesn't have to jump in and be in a relationship. Like, so like this is the time, like, and there are probably women out there that go through that, whether they lost their husband from death or just like he left. You know, they go through that period of time where they have to readjust with their life. You know what I mean? And also like right now with Meredith's character, like I said earlier, her career is just skyrocketing. She's up for one of the most prestigious.
There we go.
Awards. Could not get that out for anything. But awards in the that you can win in the medical field. She's on like the top medical magazine. Yeah, so she's just like skyrocketing. And then when she was with Derek, her success was kind of overshadowed by him because he was the star in that relationship. Really, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know what? It may be a bad way that you get to get this shine away from your husband because he passed away, but take it for right now. And then when the time comes, then you'll have a man. You can say you'll be in a relationship and you'll get everything back together. But it's like just that rush, like she needs one. No, she doesn't need one.
True.
Let her, you know, live her life right now, and then
do her
when the time
thing.
comes,
And I
like
think
what you said, it's very realistic. A lot of women go through this. It's not always cookie cutter, and so sometimes, like Annalise, it takes people time to get their lives. Yes, it's maybe a long time, but who are we to say how much time you need?
Yeah, that's true. And I think to take it a step further, not even as a viewer or consumer of the show, but if you look at it from the approach of like a writer or an actor, I think it is important. It's interesting that it's taken this long because Grey's has been off, 13, 14 seasons. But we always see like feminists or women in the writer's room or these type of people who are always conscious of the fact that a woman's story tends to be told through the lens of a man or the attachment that comes with, you know what I mean, everything else is going on around her and not necessarily centered on her story. So I think they have a good chance to do that. And I was reading in the article, they were saying about how they don't know if it's going in the direction of just showing the ties with her mother. So that's somewhere interesting to go to. I think it'll be nice to see it as long as it's like fleshed out and it still keeps the character intact. I think that's what people want to identify with.
Yeah, but since you mentioned that, I feel like, because with families and situations like that, there's always a cycle, and it's like, who's going to break the cycle? So they're showing like the parallels, but like, will Meredith go another way and, you know, not be like her mother in the fact that she's so successful, but she doesn't let the success take over, you know, and not want to be with someone because like Meredith's mom and Dr. Weber, they had like such an intense relationship, but they couldn't get it together. Well, they were both married, but besides that, they really wanted to be together, but it was like they both were so headstrong and so like career first and things like that. So maybe she will show, you know, break the cycle and still be very driven, still be very successful, but be able to have that relationship too.
And Tanya from the live chat, Tanya Murphy says, but sometimes love comes when you least expect it.
Hey now.
And that's fine. If it comes,
she is absolutely right.
If it just comes to you, that's fine. But then if you're trying to look for it if you're stressing about it, like, oh, I have this, and I need to go on dates. Like,
Yeah.
no. Yeah. But if it just happens, it happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the story is going to be told. I believe that for sure. I think more often than not, the cycle doesn't get broken. So I don't know if she's going to go there just because of the type of the show that it is. But for you guys who still watch it, would you be more interested in seeing the parallel and her become her mother, or would you be more interested in?
I would like to.
I want the cycle
broken.
broken.
Oh my God.
I want it broken 100%.
Give me the new McDreamy, whoever he is.
Yes.
Give him to me later. Like, not this season, next season.
Right.
Let her do her thing,
Do
get
her
through
thing.
this.
Right.
Find her balance.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I'd actually like Shonda, if you're listening, her next McDreamy, if he had his own kids and you saw like a blended family, because that's something that we see a lot of too. You know, like with the divorce rate and people getting remarried, they've already had their own families, so now you know they get remarried and they bring it back together.
Most definitely.
That's definitely a part of today. I would like to see that.
Yeah, I will. Yes.
Well, let
would
me
be
ask
nice.
one more question, because just speaking of the correlation that we see with Meredith and Shonda, because when I remember reading The Year of Yes, and I was really interested in knowing there's, you know, her story as a woman and with her children and making that decision to adopt 3 kids and be a single. And I really didn't feel like we got the answer to that question. I wanted to know more of like why, or because as a man, like I said, it's harder for me. There's no way for me to get it. So do you guys want to see Shonda with a man?
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, you know, like, men and women were created to be together.
Yeah.
You know, or whoever you want to be with. So, yeah, like, there is something powerful about a relationship.
I do. Yeah.
Like, a successful relationship. Not just them being together, but, like, career-wise.
Yeah.
Like, them both being successful and them both having something to bring to the table.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's great when you can be independent and a single mom and do all these things or whatever the case may be. But, like, let's be real. We get lonely.
Everybody needs companionship.
Oh, yes,
Exactly.
definitely.
Everybody does.
And I think she writes a little bit some of her fantasies in there, so I'm sure she wants to live it out.
Exactly.
I would. I'd
Exactly.
be like, dang, this is hot.
I think she's dragging it out because that's also the reality. Like you said earlier, like how long does it actually take to find that companionship?
Yeah.
Right.
And even just one more follow-up, I swear, on this, because I'm just super interested
One last question.
for the companionship piece, because a lot of the times with mothers, and particularly single mothers, we see they have this relationship with their children and they get, you know, caught up in that. So I definitely feel that's a form of companionship, but I think a lot of times they get lost in that, and before you know it, a lot of women get to that certain age where your children are grown and they just, I don't know if they missed the cat, but you see so many like
most
women who are
definitely.
single mothers who are single and they don't get remarried and they're just
Because
all
they
of that.
Sometimes, yes.
they get consumed in their children,
Yeah.
and then sometimes they become a little nervous to bring, you know, men around their
Yes, I was
kids,
just about to
especially if
say
they have
that.
daughters. Like, yeah, so it can
It's a
kind
lot.
of take over.
But
But
dads do too. I mean, it's not
For sure.
talked about a lot, but I definitely know some single dads who are, you know, holding it down, but are
Yes.
Dads to
hesitant,
the
you know, to
dads.
bring
To
a
go.
woman into their relationship because one, it's you don't hear or no one talks about that a lot, and
Most
two, it's like your children are your pride and joy, so
Yeah.
you're always cautious about who you bring around them, how they're going to react, you know.
Right. But so, to a certain point, to add on to that, when does it become an excuse? You know what I'm saying? For when you're really doing it for your kids, and now it's just like, now I'm trying to avoid and just using the kids as an excuse not to date.
Yeah, no,
I just
Yeah.
can't
take it that way too.
I can't answer that, but
But the best thing
I
about
can't answer either, but
the best
I would like
thing-
to know for the people that have kids.
okay, and the best thing about Shonda's case is her career is still thriving and it's so like young. There's so much expansion. Her children are young, so she has
right.
literally like all the time in the world
Right.
to
Yeah.
do whatever
Exactly.
she wants to do and whatever she feels best is for, you know,
Yeah.
her life and her lifestyle.
And then sometimes it's about like you're finding the right person. Like sometimes, you know, you're not really that single. You're just no one's really
Right.
you know,
You haven't found that person you're
right,
compatible with.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, they're not worth bringing on a carpet or something. You know what I mean? I may not talk to them next week after this.
Right,
you know?
right.
So,
Like,
Right.
they were just my fling, okay?
Yeah,
Now, don't
like,
get too much
that
into
takes
it.
some time as well. So
I like that one. It was just my side piece, okay?
you know,
It was for
you
a
have
moment.
red carpet ready. No.
Okay, exactly. It's a
that is the thing.
process.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Yes.
It is a process.
gosh, that is hilarious.
So in other Shonda news,
Yeah.
Enough with the relationships.
Right?
On
With
to
relationship
Shonda.
drama. No, we'll probably back into relationship drama soon. So yeah, Shonda, she loves to tweet. She tweets a lot. And so recently we saw the story of this young girl, this black girl from was it Hartford
The
College
school?
that she went to? And her roommate did some very bad things to her. She thought she was trying to poison her, rubbed a used tampon on her backpack, on her belongings, and just did all kinds of things to her, which is very horrible.
And she was bragging about it.
How do you do
does
that?
I was disgusted.
I don't even think disgust is the word. Now, I've had some bad roommate stories I will save for another day. But there are no words to describe what she did to her roommate. I can't remember their names.
And that's why, I think I may have them here. I'll look it up. But Shonda tweeted about that. Like, she's just like, this is very ignorant, and she can't believe how this hate can flourish in 2017. Like,
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, she said it tests her faith in humanity. And then she's like, who raised this inhumane, ignorant waste of space? And who chose to be her friend and look the other way, knowing that she was doing these things? It almost makes you just as bad as her.
It definitely does. I mean, Shonda went off, and rightfully so. I think it's interesting that we still, find so many ways to say, I can't believe this is happening today, or I can't believe this is going on, or in 2017. Like, I think we have to get, past that hurdle, because these things have not ceased. They have not stopped, and they're still incessant.
That's very true.
But in this case, I mean, it was just a level of hate that we rarely hear about, or we rarely see, in the forefront. I know in the article they were saying how I think the housing department of the school didn't want the girl to go public, and just kind of all these things to save face. So I am glad that I don't know if she's been convicted, but I know they brought up charges.
She's been charged at least. Yeah,
that sort of thing. I think we need to be aware of it, because, like I said, these are stories that we know happen, but if we look at it like in the public eye, it goes unnoticed. But this is an everyday type of situation. This is somebody, I live with this person, and you're putting stuff in my shampoo or mold, like all of these things. I think that's crazy.
I think it puts, society in perspective that, like, we do not live in a perfect world, obviously. But, like, the fact that this happened goes to show that we still have a long way to go.
Yeah. Also, like, the fact, I didn't read that part, but the fact that the school wanted to cover it up, or at least the housing place of the school wanted to cover up, that's terrible. And it's horrible that the girl was bragging about it, but at the same time, it's good, because then there was proof.
Exactly.
Yeah, it got out, and there was proof. Because also, without that, it would have been he said, she said.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it probably would have just been like, oh, girl.
Most
whatever.
definitely.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
happened.
Go back to your room,
Get
whatever.
over
And I
it.
think Keith brought up like a really good point. Like, we are really blind sometimes until it's brought, like, Shonda Rhimes. Would we really have seen it if Shonda didn't, like, tweet or post?
That's literally how I found out.
Yeah.
Like, what's going, that really makes you ask, like, what's going on? We need to actually turn on the news.
Right.
We need to actually read the news, but not newspaper, because I don't know if we do newspaper, but
But if you do, fine. But if not, it is important.
But I'm saying we need to actually open up our eyes and see what's going on in the world, see what's actually happening.
Yeah, it's important that we do consume that type of media as well. Everything can't be pop and entertainment culture. Like, you have to get engaged in it. I think Shonda does a good job of it, and you see most of the actors in her shows, whether it's Tony Goldwyn or Kerry Washington or Viola Davis, like
Jesse Williams.
Right, everybody is pretty engaged, and I think that's the message that needs to, or that she does a good job of displaying, like the importance of being engaged in what's going on in the world. And as far as, to her point, as it makes her question humanity, I think it's important that it does that still for a person like Shonda Rhimes, because she doesn't, you know what I mean? On paper, she doesn't have a reason to worry about it.
Right.
There's no reason why this should affect me. It'll never transpire in my life and my children, or even probably their children. But it does show, A, we have to stay engaged in this type of thing, and then B, you have have to talk about it. Because if not,
say that too.
it just goes unnoticed, and you'll never know.
Yeah, she's using her platform to speak against things like that. You know, some people want to shy away from that because it's too controversial, so I'm not going to say anything. You know what I mean? But she does not do that. And I really love that and respect that about her.
Yeah, that's my biggest takeaway for sure. And I think that's one of the greatest pieces about having the Shondaland Weekly, or even, you know, to have this type of program on AfterBuzz where you can have these conversations and things that come up in the real world that we don't always see. So it is more to it than just entertainment and kind of reviewing shows. That's all fun and dandy. But at the same time, I think as millennials, as a person in humanity, you have a certain responsibility to kind of, you know, anchor that as well.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we'll have our little political moments with Shonda tweet, get some news in, and then we can always get right back to the tea and the gossip.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know, distractions are good, but sometimes, you know, you got to get to the real.
You said it best.
All right, so I say we would get back to some relationship drama.
Okay.
Well, thanks for the free 10 minutes we have not talking about it.
A little bit of a break. So, our What Would You Do is coming from Scandal this week.
Yes.
Yes. So, we have the anchor, the TV anchor guy. I'm so bad with names. And Jay Hernandez is his real name.
Yeah.
Yes. I love seeing him on the show.
I do too, because he's so cute.
He's so handsome.
Like, hey. So we know Olivia is command now. She's even more of a badass than she was before. Oh, crazy is the word you want to go with? Okay.
Crazy. We can go crazy. She's crazy.
She is wilding out.
I mean,
She's wilding out.
sometimes the best women are crazy. Don't you just want a little bit of crazy in your life? I think you
a little bit of crazy, not all of that crazy.
It's funny that you said that because he wanted crazy, but he didn't know what type of crazy he was
that
getting.
much crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah, because in this situation, so, you know, he was attracted to her and, you know, they've been hooking up and having this thing where he really was, you know, letting her take control, whatever she says. I know he had questioned her in one episode, like, oh, you think this means, but he still did it with the guy. And I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back with him. Because I know before we came in, we were kind of talking about the idea of like if he felt emasculated or, you know, with her being so dominant. And I forgot that moment. So I think that has something to do with it. But the question becomes, you know, as you get to know people and you're talking, you know, early on, so a few dates or whatever, people notice, you know, who you are, your tendency, your good traits, and your bad traits. So let's say you're in a situation where, you know, a person, you know, receives more of your flaws than your goodness, and they decide, hey, I'm just not that into you. I thought that there was going to be more, but there isn't, so I'm cool. And that's pretty much what he told Olivia on the show. And she was just left with her face like
dumbfounded.
Stuck.
So what would you do?
I would slap the hell out of him. You knew what you were getting into.
But
did
he really know what he was getting into?
Think about it. Think about Olivia's parents. You know who my father is.
He doesn't know that.
He
does not know.
No.
He is a fossil man
Right.
at the museum.
He is a news anchor. He knows who she is because of her political persona. That's it.
Right.
He
You
doesn't
know
know.
by how I talk to other people. You know my history because people be gossiping about me. I'm in the tabloids.
No. We ain't even gonna let you do
I'm
it.
not even gonna give him an excuse because I feel like a lot of men do this. They see it. We tell you that we're crazy, and they don't.
No, I'm gonna disagree with you because, I
yes.
also feel like women do, or whomever you're dating, you need to take responsibility for your flaws. You can't just put it off as, well, this is me, this is how I am, I have these crazy, because like it may not be a good thing. And then sometimes like the best person for you is a mirror, a reflection to see the bad things, and hopefully maybe you can readjust and fix those issues and those bad traits. So, you know, to just kind of be like, oh, this is me, take it or leave it, and then you keep getting left.
Right? Then you have to make a change.
You need to look in the mirror again.
I think I'm one of those selfish people that just be like, take it or leave it.
Your child? I don't know. Because I think we hear
keep getting left.
a lot of the time.
Sip this. Let me sip this wine.
A lot of the times we hear the conversation, most commonly is where people say, oh, well, you know, I'm just too real for this person. Or, you know, I'm going to tell it like it is because I'm real. And that's fine. You can be real. But at a certain point, you have to be tactful and it has to make sense. So it's okay to be real, but you shouldn't be out here just hurting people's feelings. You shouldn't be trying to trash somebody. Now, in this case, I don't believe that he knew the extent of who Olivia Pope was.
Right.
I think he saw pieces because we've seen their relationship develop over the course of several episodes.
Yeah,
And so
I think at this point, it's
chip
like a
by
month.
chip. Yeah.
Maybe.
I think chip by
Maybe.
chip, I think the dominance is okay with him. I think he saw, this powerful
Yeah.
woman and that was attractive. But ultimately it got to the point where, okay, you can be this, but I'm going into this expecting more of you. Just as
Exactly.
a common relationship, I see your good side, I see your bad side. But at some point I'm expecting to see more. And if I don't see that, I'm going to be out. But we're not excused. That's not the argument here. I want to know, what would you do?
Tell it, Keith.
So for me, I really don't know. I feel that, not even in a romance, we see this with friendships sometimes
Yeah.
too. And I think for me, a lot like going through college or certain phases where I had to acknowledge being mouthy or just some things that I had to sit with and be conscious of and try to present myself at least in a different light because I do care about people and I want them to see that instead of just all the bad things. So when faced with that type of rejection, to be 100% honest, especially if it was him, I'm gonna say, "Oh, can we talk about this? Can we sit down? I don't understand what exactly. Let's flesh this out because I think there may be an opportunity. I wouldn't be so willing." In any case, I think just to accept that, I would be left with, well, wow, somebody really feels like that
Right.
I ain't nothing.
Right.
Absolutely.
But I ain't
Something's
it.
wrong.
Absolutely, because I would do the same thing. Because and I don't know if you guys saw the episode, but he didn't really explain or give details as to specifically why. He just said something along the lines that he wasn't the person that she thought she was. I don't know, me and Keith were talking about it earlier, and it was basically like, Olivia's mean.
Yeah.
And so, like, if somebody told me I was mean or flat out they felt that I mistreated them, I'm going to ask them, well, what did I do? Like, how can I fix this? Like you said, relationship, friendships, because I also, care about people, and I've always wanted to know why. There's always a reason behind everything. There's their side, your side, and the truth, as my mother likes to say.
Yeah.
So
true.
I'm also going to sit down and say, hey, can we talk about this? Can we at least come to a common ground where we don't have to be together if that's really what you want,
Right.
but let's at least leave the table with an understanding of
Right.
how you felt,
I need
why,
to know.
and what I need to fix about myself.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for me, I would also reach out to maybe a friend. You know that friend that you can call
Yeah.
that's gonna tell you
The
Right.
truth.
the truth
going on
and for real. And run it by them to see like, okay, so who's at fault here? Like, am I really tripping
Yeah.
or are they tripping? I just need to let him go and find someone that he is compatible with and that he does like. So let's, you know what I mean.
Exactly.
And then if it comes back like, oh no, it's you, girl. You need to readjust
You need to
and
fix it.
I
fix
really
some
like
things.
Let's
that
do
one
something
because I
about
do be
it.
having the friends that be telling me about myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, too, on the flip side, I can't imagine, because I don't know that level of, like, power yet, so young or early on. So I can imagine how difficult it can be. Like, if I'm this powerful and this independent, then it could very well be the case that what you say means nothing to me.
True.
But we do see, with Olivia that it left some kind of impression.
It did. Because the look on her face was, let me see if I can.
Pick up your face.
Right? It was like shock because when you have that type of power, you're not used to anybody like denying you or
Right.
rejection. I don't think at any age you are okay or comfortable
Right.
with
So-
rejection.
I was actually going to pose this question. Like, so do we feel like she may take that like into consideration? Like, so what's going on with me? Or is it just strictly the rejection? Like, so like you said, she may not pay any attention to the issues or whatever problems that he had with her and try to fix that, but she just may be shocked by the rejection.
I think
I mean, we've
rejection.
seen, because we've seen every relationship on the show so far that we've seen. It's like she's kind of been in control of it or whatever. She just really hasn't had to
exactly.
deal with rejection from a guy. So
Yeah.
But, okay, I like that question, but what if it were Fitz? What if Fitz actually, for the first time ever, and meant it, threw the towel in on their relationship? Because we
almost made me
know.
cry. I hurt my feelings.
Well, I mean, well, let's just see. Is it rejection or is it, the
that's-
person?
I think it's a
think
thin
it's-
line. I think it depends on
I think it's the rejection because she lost that control. Like what you were saying
Yeah.
about that control that she's always in. She's out of control. He dumping you. You can't control that.
Yeah. But
I
with
don't
Fitz,
know.
I don't know. That's tough for me because with Fitz, it's like it's more to because at the same time, it's like, well, where was all of this?
Right.
Right, but
So
Olivia,
that's where I would go into.
Olivia
but
is
she is
usually
changing.
the one that's even with Jake. Like she's
Yeah.
the one
Yeah.
ending it, picking it back up.
Exactly.
You know, she's always the one in control of the relationship.
For
So
sure.
if the roles were
Exactly.
reversed,
I'm not too sure, but I think that's a question that we will leave for the scandal panel.
So what
They
do
can
you
figure-
guys think,
they
you
can
scandal
figure-
gladiators?
They can figure that part out. But I think it is a complicated question. It's a complicated situation to be in. And I think that's the best part of what Shonda is doing with TV. Like we say all
Yes.
the time, it is that engagement and it is that realistic kind of quality that leaves you like,
Yeah.
how would I handle this? Or with this person? Or like we were saying, is it 6 months? Is it 6 days? Like all of these things weigh in onto the decisions that we make with a person.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to just, leave you at one phase of your life or where you are. Like even Olivia in this, wherever she is in life, and say, nope, this means it's gonna be about this for you. So
Right. Yeah.
I don't know,
you made a
but
good point.
what would you do? We are interested in knowing.
Tweet us, leave them in the comments.
Yep. Just to be clear, we want to know what you would do if you are dating, you're talking to somebody, they see your good side and your bad side, and they decide you got more bad than good, and they are done. How do you respond, and what would you do?
What would you do?
The real question is, how long is it going to take you to respond? Because I'm calling out a word.
I told you I'm be on the phone with my friends. Like, girl, well, this is
I'm
what he said
snuggling
exactly.
up in the covers.
That's mainly me right there. Be like, girl, he said I was this, and be like, girl, now let me tell you, it's you. It's you. I'd be like, no, it's not. Girl, look at the mirror. It's you.
Yes.
Right, I don't know. That's tough. It's
That
tough.
really is a hard question. I'm so interested to hear what you guys have to
Yes.
say.
Yeah.
So
That
so
is a
tweet
hard
us
question.
in the comments on the YouTube page. Also
Yes.
on Twitter, you can use the hashtag TGIM for Thank God It's Monday.
Yes.
So we want to see what you guys have to say, and we will be back next week, huh?
Yeah.
Same time, same place.
Yep.
Talking all about Shonda.
Shonda and some wine.
Okay.
Into
New news.
Maybe we should do a white wine next time.
Oh, we could
yes.
do that.
White
Just a
wine?
suggestion. Because it's two
Yeah.
red wines and
So any
right.
suggestions, throw it out.
Oh yeah.
And let the people know who we
Same.
are,
Yep.
who you are, where to
So-
find you.
You guys can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at LMarieTV. Don't forget hashtag TGIM.
And I'm Tori Broussard. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Tori_Broussard.
Keith Andre here everywhere socially at Keith_Andre.
I'm Lynneisha. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Laneisha, spelled LANISHA 914.
Okay.
You see how she tried to play me? I saw that from the corner of my eye.
I was just trying to get
See
in with a
y'all
little
later.
914, you know.
Bye guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.